It is about that time for the Homestretch video. People in my Discord server have been asking, and it was on my list of things to do. So here we go, entering the Homestretch 2023, subtitle, Future is Now. And we'll start with the quote, because as you know, I do love quotes a lot. I think they're great. It's the end of a sentence or statement. As I tell my students, you do not enter the future, you create the future. The future is created through hard work. And that was stated or spoken by Hector Escalante. And might be wondering, who was Hector Escalante? So I will tell you from biography.com. He became famous for his work with troubled, unteachable high school math students. His story was told in the 1988 film Stand and Deliver. Hector Escalante was an educator who was born in Bolivia and came to the United States in the 1960s, and not that it says it here, but as many do, to seek a better life. Right? He began teaching math to troubled students in a violent Los Angeles school, and became famous for leading many of them to pass the Advanced Placement Calculus test. So that's who he was. And I think that's really cool, right? What a great thing. I guess I've never seen the movie, but I know his story a little bit about it. You might want to read more about him and his biography and maybe watch the movie. I have no idea if it stays true to the actual events or not. But this goes into the whole philosophy of learning importance, right? It's not just, many people can teach different things, but if they're not giving, in my opinion, these kinds of philosophical ideas, this is the framework within which we generate our success. And I believe you need to know, why are you doing what you're doing? We need to ask that question, and we need to be able to answer it and think about what the purpose is of education. It may not be the purpose that your school has. They may have their own purposes in it, but what is your purpose in education? And so we talk about this a lot on my channel, the power of ideas. So power of ideas, when we think about ideas, think about it. What are all of the things, right? When we look at all these things we have around us, we've got this board, we've got this cloth, we've got the paint, we got the marker that I wrote this with, your phone, the device that you're watching this on, the lights, everything in here, not counting trees and grass and natural things, but everything else that we use on a day-to-day basis, all of that, what is it made out of? What is its most fundamental particle, if you will? Now, I guess if you looked scientifically or from the realm of physics, we would say it's, atoms, subatomic structure, molecules, things like that. That's not what I mean. That's the physical aspect. But what I would argue more fundamentally than that is all of it started with human ideas. Somebody thought of that thing, and now you are using those things that they thought of because they made it into a reality. But in order to do that, they had to generate the steps from which it would come to fruition. So, very powerful thing, ideas, your philosophy that governs how you conduct yourself, your actions, and your learning experience. The test dates coming up, they are the A test on November 8th, a Wednesday, and the B test November 14th, a Tuesday. I did see on one website, I think it was Ivy League something or another, maybe it was a different website, they have different dates than this. They say 2023, I checked it, but they're not the real dates. These dates came directly off the MAA website, so I don't know if you see it elsewhere. Go check this out for yourself if you're not sure. One of my students in the Discord server, not really my student, I call it that, but they're in my Discord server, they asked the students, how about that? They asked, should we take both tests? Yeah, definitely take both tests. If you're only planning to take one test, I would venture to say you're probably not that serious about getting to the second round. And that's fine. You're just doing it for fun. Okay. But if your goal is to get beyond just taking it for fun and take it for merit and to try to get something done with it, then I would say take both tests. Now, my school only offers the A test or the B test. What can I do? Go to the MAA website. There will be a portion of it somewhere on there. You can look for testing centers by zip code. A lot of times math circles will offer it. Various college math departments will offer it. It's not available to college students. Why? They're just doing it for the community. I think Cal State Fullerton had it at their math circle. UC Irvine, as well might, when I was in California from before. Check. look around for options. It might be an hour away's drive. For some of you, if you're more rural, I would recommend you make the drive. I think it's worth it. I think you should take both tests. So we are about 9 weeks away. And in between, we need to make something called a plan, right? What do you do to prepare? It's up to you. I mean, there's lots of options. There's not one answer. It's what do you want to do? Go do something that you would like to do. One option would be things like Alchemist. Alchemist is a free resource on the Art of Problem Solving website. It's got about 30,000 problems broken up by categories, and you can solve them and they get harder or easier depending on how you perform, I believe, and you can try that out. So lots of options on there. I'm going to mention classes right now too. I do have classes that I offer. Other teachers and tutors have classes. Different learning centers have classes or tutoring. I don't teach for free. Sorry, this is my career. It's what I do for a living. I would love to do that, but someone's got to pay the rent, turn the lights on, all that kind of stuff. So you can also learn from past tests. You know, maybe you don't have financial resources to afford that, and that's fine. Don't give up. I never had those either when I was your age, so you're fine if you don't know about how you can prepare when you don't have financial resources. You can watch the budget version of how to prepare. Past tests are probably the most important aspect. They give you insight to how the test makers think, and then you can use that insight to say, oh, this is an interesting, I see kind of a theme in the things that they're doing. Maybe I can remember that idea, write it down somewhere. The AOPS books, again, that's the abbreviation for the Art of Problem Solving. These are like more theory-based, right? You're going to get a lot more structure, build the structure a little more fundamentally than you do just by the self-discovery of doing past tests. If you only had time, but you have time right now, about 9 weeks, like I said, if you only could do one book between now and then, I would do, and you probably only have time for one book realistically, I would probably do Intro to Counting and Probability as a priority if you've never done it. I would maybe do Intro to Number Theory or Volume 1. All three of those texts would be great. I think of the two that you focus on, if you focus on a topical book like Intro to Counting and Probability, you're taking out about 1 to 4 questions on the test that it's going to give you a much better chance to get right. And so you're creating the future you that's more prepared for that kind of a question. Volume 1 is more of a summary of the entire intro series. It doesn't go too deep into counting and probability or number theory though, just briefly goes through those topics. So there's handouts, you can find them online, various online math communities, AOPS, my Discord server, other math communities, there's lots of them out there. Look for those, they go by topic usually, videos, like this one. Other ones too from other channels that you can watch. Osman Nall is great, Sohail Rathi, great also. A lot of other great channels as well. Khan Academy for basics, all free. For the Win. For the Win is a game offered by AOPS. You try to go fast against another person. Most likely, a lot of students on there are pretty fast. Some of them are faster than me. They're probably going to be faster than you at times as well. I wouldn't be discouraged by that. It gives you a chance to practice going as quick as you can without making a mistake. So we talked about classes, Discord. My Discord invite will be in the description down below. And you can join the Discord. It's mostly high school students. A few adults peek their head in from time to time, including me. I do engage with the students in there that are in that server from time to time. Another quote after that. Let's get to another quote. Each problem that I solved became a rule, which served afterward to solve other problems, spoken by René Descartes, or written by him. And if you don't know who he was, yes you do. Every time you graph on the XY, a rectangular coordinate plane, that is something that Descartes created. It's also called the Cartesian plane as a result. He has many great quotes as well. I really liked his meditations. He was a philosopher as well as a mathematician. So why this quote? Okay, because you're going to be solving lots of problems between now and then. It's not just the solving of problems, it's the analyzing of what did I learn? How did I learn it? What mistakes did I make? How could I have gone faster? Was this the best path? Did I miss anything I could have capitalized on? What could I learn to do it differently? I like to learn paths even if they're not more efficient than the one that I did, because you're building a network of connected ideas that when you're taking the test, you can say, I've got this option, this option, this option, I'll do that one. If you're a one-trick pony and that trick doesn't work for the problem that you're on, or you can't perceive how to apply it, you're not going to be able to get that question. So, solving more problems, they say solve thousands of problems. Well, I don't want to. Well, then don't, I guess. I mean, it's kind of up to you, right? You should solve as many as you can that you desire to do so and try to generate that desire as much as possible, but with good note-taking. If you're just solving for the sake of solving, you're probably not getting as much out of it. It's not just doing the problem, but learning from the doing of the problem, right? And so I say on my channel, I talk about it all the time. You can watch the video about why I suggest a small notebook. That video will explain it, but in essence, you should be writing down the key ideas that you're learning. I would not type them. Typing them is great, sure, but it's not as good of a memory. They've proven it, that when you handwrite something, it generates a stronger connection to your memory. So, mistake analysis. I'll probably do a video on this in the future when I have time, whenever that is, right? But, sorry, there's lots of things. Adulting is hard, right? So, mistake analysis. What did you do wrong? Why did you do it wrong? Oh, I made a mistake. Okay, great. Yeah, you did. What are you going to do to not make that mistake in the future? If you're not able to answer that question effectively, you're going to keep making the mistake, right? So, oh, I just won't make that mistake. How? How are you not going to make that mistake? You know, a lot of times we move things across an equal sign. I know you've all done it and you didn't actually. It's like -4. You're supposed to do +4, but you just take the -4 and subtract. Everyone's done that at some point, but how could you have avoided it? Well, I mean, I could have written +4, but that would take time. Yes, it would take time. You have to ask, how frequently do you make this mistake versus the time lost that would make sure, because if you wrote +4, you're not going to make that mistake. And so if you're more prone to that kind of mistake, adjust the algorithmic process by which you solve. Make changes. If you don't make changes to the solve process, it's just going to keep happening. So start trying to determine, how can I know that I'm right? Read carefully is really important on the test. Okay, so from there, let's get to the next quote that I would like to mention. Imagination is the beginning of creation, right? Like we talked about with the power of ideas. Imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire. You will what you imagine, and at last, you create what you will, written by George Bernard Shaw or spoken by him. So think about what this means. First, you have an idea, right? That's where you begin the creation process. But if you just think, man, I really want to qualify for Amy, but then you don't do anything, that's where it stays. It just stays as this idea, right? It's like, oh, I'd really love to, you know, get my mile time down or whatever, achieve goal X. And you just sit there thinking about it, but then you go back and play video games or just waste time. Not that video games are always bad. They can have benefits at times, but most of us, especially at the younger age, have difficulty with discipline and making the right decision with our time. And so as you begin this idea of what you desire, right? Even right now, I'd love to do as well as I can on the test. But that desire, in order for it to become what you will, what is the difference? How do we get, it's a desire to perform well, or do you will it? Which is it? Well, how do I know the difference? Desire, getting to become will, how? The answer is action. That gap between desire and will is bridged by effort, right? What is the action that you're going to take to bring that future thing at last, that you create what you will? In between, lots of things has to happen, and the most fundamental aspect is hard work. No, you shouldn't force yourself to do X amount of hours when you're doing your preparation each day. I think you should enjoy it. I mean, I think it's fun, right? Your goal is to learn. You're creating a more capable you in the future who can analyze and think creatively. So enjoy that process. Don't always force yourself to do it. Sometimes maybe you should if you're just really not motivated. But if it's consistently that you just don't want to do something, maybe it's not your bag, right? Maybe it's not your cup of tea. And so I would recommend that you really try to find whatever it is that you first enjoyed about these problems. You get in touch with that and you use that to kind of generate how you're going to conduct your plan and how much time you want to invest in it. The past 10 months, maybe you're thinking, wow, I wish I had started back in December or January, like I said I was going to, and man, I never did that. Let me beat myself up for it. Well, guess what? That's not going to help, and there's nothing you can do about that. It's gone, right? The time is gone. That's in the past, right? You have regrets. What's that going to do for you? Make you wallow in misery and wish you had done something different? The time that you can create the future is now. You have 9 weeks. What are you going to do with your time? Right? That's always kind of the question that we should be asking. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will try to make one day before the test, final advice. I'll try to make one in between, and I'll try to make one after the test to recap. Like I said, there's a lot of videos I would like to create. I have many ideas. I just don't have time to fill them because I've got to keep working to be able to keep your head above water. It's a difficult time for that kind of stuff. So I will do what I can, but I will make sure I get those out because I will. It's what I will, right? And there we go. That's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought and what you're going to do, and then carry that plan out, and the plan can consist of whatever you like. You all have a good one.